I didn't plan this video out, so hopefully it'll turn out okay. Hi people, it's Ellie here, and I have my tea, so you know what that means? It's another episode of Tea Time. So this morning, I actually went to the movie theaters to see Into the Woods with my friends Sabrina and Hannah, and I'm just gonna start off by saying I was really looking forward to seeing this movie. I saw the original play when I was so much younger, and I fell in love with it, and I love the songs, and it's just a wonderful play that's very close to my heart. So when I found out they were making this into a movie with such amazing names like Meryl Streep and Emily Blunt and Anna Kendrick and James Corden, I was just so over the moon. So this morning, when I actually watched the movie, I wasn't disappointed. I really wasn't. It was actually really good. I think if this movie didn't have the actors it did, it wouldn't have done very well in the box office. Not just in the box office, in general. Because I think the people are what make the story and make it believable. There was one point, I think Jack was talking about the giant, and he was so animated, and I just kept thinking his whole song, like, you have such a good voice and you're like 8. I mean, the casting that went into this movie was unbelievable. And Meryl Streep, I love her so much, and she was the perfect witch. She was so good. And James Corden and Emily Blunt and Anna Kendrick, and everyone was so good. I loved it. I haven't seen the play in quite a few years, and when I found out they were making this into a movie, I wanted to keep it that way, so I wasn't just comparing it to what I grew up with. But I think they did a very good job with it. It's difficult to make a play into a movie, especially when it's a musical of this proportion. It kind of reminded me of what they did with Les Mis a few years ago. It had that same aspect to it because it's a lot more singing than it is talking. But the cast is what made it work. I don't really have many criticisms of the movie because I do think it was a wonderful movie and a great adaptation of the story. I loved the set, even though it is just a woods. It felt like woods, and obviously, I don't know where I'm going with this. It made the story seem realistic, and like these characters were real and they weren't just made up fairy tales that we all know and love. And I guess the actors also brought some of that to it, because they did transform these characters into these completely different people that we don't know, and they did it really well. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I don't really have a point system to give it, but I would say it's somewhere between 5 stars and 4 stars. I wouldn't say it's completely 5 stars, just because of a few things I didn't like about it, which I will touch on. But I wouldn't say it's as low as 4 stars either. Probably somewhere in between. There were 2 things I didn't like about this whole movie, and they're quite little in the retrospect of the story, but there are 2 things that I really didn't like. First off, I am not a Johnny Depp fan at all. Honestly, I can't stand the guy or his acting. But he was such a small part as the wolf, because the wolf is only in probably a scene, maybe 2 scenes. It's just a very minor part that it didn't bother me that much, especially since he was kind of in and out real quickly. But I do feel like they just used Johnny Depp's name so they could use his name. Like, if you've seen the trailers, you see him and he is this big thing and he makes up to be this big bad character, but he really isn't, and he's only in it for a very short scene to set up Red Riding Hood's part. So I think that character would have been done better by someone else, they used his name, really. I mean, he did a great job, even for me not liking him and not liking any of his movies, really. He did a great job. I just wish they did someone else and they didn't just take Johnny Depp's name to sell the movie. And the only other problem I had with this movie, which might be a bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen the play or the movie yet, so I'm warning you now, it is kind of spoilery, but not at the same time. If you don't care about the play, don't worry about it, but if you do care about the play and haven't seen the movie yet, I might want to hold off listening to this next part. In the original play, Into the Woods, the narrator is a major part of the movie. He not only narrates everything, but he's actually a character. There's one part in the play where the characters need to get, well, they need to satisfy the giant, and they decide to throw the narrator at the giant, who then dies. And that doesn't happen in the movie, which I totally understand why. It's not the biggest thing, but it is the thing I remember most from the story. Just because it was so out of the ordinary. Like, the narrator is never someone you consider a character, but in this play, he was a character, and the characters were just like, you know what? We don't want to die, so let's chuck him at the giant, which is cool. But in the movie, the narrator was played by James Corden, but it had a very, very, very minimalistic part, just because I don't remember them being at the end, but in the beginning, it was just setting up the people, just telling you who they all are, and then they kind of faded off into nothingness, which I understand because it was played by James Corden, who is the baker, who is pretty much the lead this whole movie. Well, one of the major leads. But yeah, I just didn't like that they didn't really have a narrator like they do in the play, but I understand why, and it was still a fabulous movie even without that. Yeah, I don't even know how they would do it in a movie, because you never see a narrator's voice in the movie, while in a play, the narrator stands off to the side, generally. But anyway, I hope you liked this review. It really was a good movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, please go see it. It came out in theaters Christmas Day, so it should still be playing everywhere, unless you're watching this like months from now. But yeah, go watch it. It's good. I'd say educational, but it's not really educational. It's just a really good play, and the music's amazing. Stephen Sondheim. Just go watch it. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a like if you like, and subscribe, and that's it. So I'm gonna go, and I'll see you next time. Bye.